What's up, friends? Happy Friday to you. Welcome to another live stream. It's going to be a fun one today, and I'd love to know where you're joining from in this great wide world. So got my comments here loaded up, so I'll see you guys chatting today because Isaac wants to know, is this the roast stream? I don't feel right doing a full-on roast without giving you fair warning. So no, this is not the roast stream. We'll try to be just constructive and helpful. And sometimes that can feel like a little bit of a roast, but no. Let me know if everything is looking good and sounding good here this morning. And also let me know where you're jumping in from. Like, I know we've got Dustin hopping in from Jacksonville, Florida. And then Brian here in Green Country, he says it's that time of the week. It has only been just a couple of weeks since we hopped on here with Drake Kelch. Usually this is once a month kind of deal because May is cray if you have children like I do. So happy to get to do this with you guys. So let me know where you're jumping in from today. We got Flannel Knight in the chat. Hello from Tehachapi. Yes, man, always great to have you here. One of our faithfuls. James hopping in from Parkersburg. Love these live streams. Great. Thank you for being here today. It's always fun getting to be here live with you guys. So if you haven't yet, go ahead and maybe share this on your socials or something in the next 20 seconds. All right, we're going to be hopping in here in just a second. ZX here from Long Island. Michael from Ghana, West Africa. Man, what time is it there? Thanks for hopping in. Yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. All right. Well, welcome back to another Friday live stream. These are always so fun, getting to hop in and evaluate our services together. If we haven't had the chance to meet yet, my name's Ryland. I'm the worship media arts pastor here at Central Baptist in Owasso. That's like the Tulsa area. And I love getting to do these because, you know, the live stream of our church is like, I feel like the last non-AI or curated image kind of thing of our churches. Like, if people want to see the real us, check out our live streams. It's hard to hide. And so let's do our best to make them the very best that they can be. And so thank you for hopping in today. We're going to have a lot of fun. I hope that you guys will jump into the chat today and ask a lot of questions, because we have an expert coming on when it comes to audio. And I would love to be able to help each other out with our audio stuff for our church live streams. So without further ado, I want to bring in somebody who I didn't even know I looked up to for many years. I think about maybe 10 years ago, I remember going through like an X32 mastery course or something that he had put on YouTube, and it helped so much. And then come to find out, here he is on the channel. So you guys help me welcome to the live stream, the one, the only, your friendly neighborhood audio engineer, Mr. James Hurley.
Thank you.
James, welcome to the channel.
I love the sound effects. They're amazing.
Man, I'm so happy to have you on today. James, if people aren't familiar kind of with where you're at and what all you've done, can you just share a little bit of your bio?
Real fast. Oh, that's. I mean, I hit 40 2 days ago, so might be a long one.
Understandable.
I started as just a kid in a Pentecostal or AG church in Jersey, and by sixth grade, I was interested in some tech. My mom introduced me to the sound guys at church who were all like 68. They saw a kid come in and decided to show me how to turn it on and then quit. So by 13, 14, I was basically trying to run the show myself, which bad thing to let a kid loose in a candy shop, but also really bad when you don't tell them that the jawbreakers can break your teeth. So I was no training, no mentors, no nothing. And just did that until I got sick of it at about college age. I was also in worship.
Okay.
So by that point, I was like, I'm done. I'm going to be a worship leader and a youth pastor, and I'm done. So I went off to Bible college. There's a God story around how I wound up at Hillsong Bible College and not, say Oral Roberts or something like that.
Okay.
It was God spoke to me very audibly, and went out there and just I fell in love with the church and whatever, and basically the people at the church. And then of course what we were doing was amazing. But that's where I got my mentors for the first time. Realized that, oh, the sound thing isn't so bad. I remember Mashiri Gatiri, who's not got a huge internet presence. I wish he did, but because he was the one who sat down with me and he goes, I heard you're doing some sound for some small services. Let me show you. You mind if I show you how we do stuff? I'm like, yeah, cool. And he goes, okay, so this is how you EQ. And I remember looking at him and going, wait, we can make stuff sound good? Like I literally said that those words came out of my mouth. And he goes very graciously, well, yeah, that's kind of the job. And it was over. I was hooked. From that point on, I was hooked. And
So what was like the first soundboard that you were mixing on? Do you remember?
Spirit Live 42?
I don't even know what that is.
It's a Soundcraft House of Worship line. And I've actually, there's a church that I'm at sometimes on Saturdays now that actually the church still has one. And it's a little nostalgia every time I see it. We mix on a wing for that service, but it's still, the Spirit Live still sitting in front of the house. And then I went from that to Allen and Heath MH4.
Okay.
I think it was MH4s because they preceded the M7s at Hillsong, and then Hillsong got a bunch of the first M7s and also had the first PM1Ds. So I was jumped right into the first generation of digital console, and I guess first generation of big digital console. You had the ONVs and all that kind of stuff that were already on the market, but spent many years at Hillsong, did Hillsong New York. I led the audio and the production there for quite a while, and then Hillsong LA as well. And then getting older, figured full-time volunteer staff is in church plants is probably not a good retirement plan. So I got offered a job at a church, and I took it. Had a lot of fun there, but the best thing to come out of that was I met my wife actually after leaving. So it wasn't the church necessarily, it was just being in that locale. So God has a crazy way of working. And then COVID, I worked for NASA. I worked for I worked for Ellis Pro Media. I don't think they're still around. But that actually, David Ellis was the owner of that for a long time. He started it. He actually was the officiant at our wedding too. So good friends. And then wound up in Texas after pandemic, and the NASA contracts were ending, and found myself plugged in at a really cool local church down in South Fort Worth with some amazing people, amazing audio engineer, amazing band, amazing vocals. The church themselves, they've been feeding people for 30 years, hundreds of thousands of pounds of food, $1 million worth of food, something like that every year. They've got food banks and stuff like that. They've got 1,000 water wells around the world. They do all themselves. They don't go. They do partner with local initiatives that do it, but they fly teams. They've been doing this for 25, 30 years. They rescue kids out of human trafficking. They have networks of rescuers around the place. So it's really, really cool to kind of be a part of seeing that happen every week. And that church is called Open Doors in South Fort Worth. If you're ever in town, give it a visit. And I've also been plugged in with a bunch of Seventh-day Adventist churches since the pandemic, and helping the president of Southwest Regional Conference, if I get these things right. He became a friend of mine during conference during COVID, and moved out here to Dallas to become the president. And I called him up one day and I was like, "Hey, wife's starting school. I'm trying to pick up another day of work. Do you know any Seventh-day Adventist churches that need help?" And he goes, "Well, yeah, I'm actually in Dallas and I just started a church." So it's just God's got his finger on the whole story.
Yeah.
It's even if chapters get added every single day, I'm never surprised when it's like, "Oh yeah, God, I saw what you did."
Wow.
So, yeah.
Well, that's really cool to hear some of your journey and like where God's taken you. And now, here on the live stream today, we're going to be hopefully being like iron sharpening iron for some of these churches that have submitted their live streams for us to kind of evaluate. So
I don't know if it's helpful for. I just kind of blew through where I was, because it's been so long ago. But while I was at Hillsong, I was on the album team for a while. So, in a way, broadcast before broadcast was a focus at the church, really.
yeah.
Because we were capturing the sound of the house. So I actually, ironically, became responsible on the night to record the crowd, and then post-production, like the one job that was my job was capturing all the choir, mixing them, making sure that all the stems were good for delivery, and then whatever else needed to get done, of course, because we all did everything, but like each person had their, hey, we need you to make sure vocals are good, we need you to make sure guitars are good, we need you to make sure bass is good. Like, so we had a team of guys that worked together to make sure the whole album got produced in, I don't know, maybe a matter of a few weeks.
Wow.
And so that's how we broke it up, and we tackled that large pie. So I only mention that because that's where I cut my teeth in the mixing side of things, not just services and stuff like that. So it feeds into what I do now, which is mostly broadcast audio.
I gotcha. And you said are you mixing week to week on a wing? Is that what you said, or is that a different spot?
So at the 7-Day Adventist Church front of house is a wing. So I got their system tuned and set up for front of house, and then I started mixing their broadcast in Studio One. And so I'm on a DAW on Saturdays, and then on Sundays we were on Allen Heath for a long time. Sundays and Wednesdays, so I do 2 services a week at the Open Door. And that was an Allen and Heath system, but it just literally this week just got pulled out and PM3s went in, which was a whole story in itself. But so now we're on PM3s at Open Door.
What is PM3? Who makes that one?
Oh, Yamaha.
That is Yamaha. Okay.
That's the Yamaha's, like, Rivage is their top line
right.
of consoles. And you can see the pedigree from Rivage. Well, it goes all the way back, but you can see it in DM.
Yeah, DM7.
And it even comes from CL, QL. There's a thread of functionality that sews its way through the whole family of products. So it's kind of cool. Big console, but very intuitive and oddly quick to get around. So yeah, less intimidating than their PM 1Ds and 5Ds were.
Okay. Well, as you guys can hear, James has got some experience and some knowledge that we can tap into today. So let's take advantage of it and hop into some live stream reviews. What do you say?
Hey.
All right. So our first one that we're going to be looking at is from Kingsway Church. And Kingsway Church, if I can pull up what their submission said that they're running with. Let's see. They have, it's broadcast audio through a Mac over Dante, mixed in Studio One with Waves, and some Slate digital plugins. Final mix is then sent back to the Behringer Wing to send over to Resi. So let's listen to Kingsway a little bit. You guys in the chat, let us know if you hear anything that sticks out as well. We'll listen a little bit more, but their cameras they're rocking, for everybody that's curious, is some Blackmagic Pocket 6Ks with Canon lenses. So they're looking good. Must be using a custom LUT on there. Let's keep listening. All right, looks like that's probably their Easter opener from Kingsway Church. So we'll let that keep rolling. And James, did anything just jump out at you immediately?
Immediately, I was pretty impressed. Overall, the balance and the tonality of everything was there. It was great. If I was a new person or just a random, stumble across it online for algorithm's sake, I would not thought anything other of the audio. I'd have been like, oh, what's this? I would have captured me in, which is the main goal of broadcast mixes, right? It's like all of our mixing, we shouldn't be distracting, but something that's inviting, it's warm, it's open. I can hear all of the what's being presented in terms of the intentionality and the I say emotion a lot, not for emotion's sake, but music creates an emotion, and you have to convey that well as a mix engineer. That's the whole point of mixing. And it right away I was like, oh, I'm interested. I want to hear more. I want to listen. I want to see what's going on here.
Yeah.
So that was the first thing that stuck out right away to me.
Yeah, man. I think it is a really powerful mix. It's always tough. I feel like the battle in modern worship music, and for churches like ours and this one, is you have so much sonically sometimes that ends up in there, like between tracks and so many singers and this huge sound. Like, what are you thinking as a mix engineer for like creating space in a broadcast mix? Do you have any like tips or things you're thinking about, especially with multiple vocals and multiple guitars? How are you going about thinking through that, managing the audio spectrum?
This is actually good, because the second thing I heard in this mix is something that it takes a little bit of paying attention to, especially as a novice engineer. We can just get used to, I'm going to pan things here, and okay, I panned them. Things kind of sound good. We're moving on, right? We don't pay much attention to pan, but you have to be very intentional with pan and space in your stereo field, because in this mix, if you listen, it's actually a very great mix. But to me, a lot of the focus of the image, if I was to pull this up on a stereo spectrum analyzer, or a stereo analyzer, it would, instead of being out having nice stuff in the sides, it would be more focused up the middle, and which is fine. And you can hear it's a good mix, and it's fine. But moving more different sounding things off to different sides is going to pull open that mix even more. So instead of taking stereo guitars and hard panning left and right, and then taking another stereo electric guitar and hard panning that left and right, and then taking your stereo electric guitars from the tracks and hard panning those left and right, listen to each guitar track, and see if you can't partially pan, or take only one side of one guitar. If it's not, a quarter note delay here and an eighth note delay here, don't cut that completely out, but like see if you can slightly just pull only one side off and pull the other side down a fair bit, and get yourself some difference between your left and your right side. Sorry, my floor is uneven, so I'm sliding around here.
You're good.
I gotta move. But that's the first port of call. Always the first port of call for space. And then frequency masking is kind of always a thing. This was a little more advanced for this particular mix. I was noticing some buildup in the lower mids between the bass guitar and probably some keyboard stuff. And let's see here, that's his left hand. His left hand's a little low, and a kick drum. So it's not a bad thing at all. It still all sounds full and good, but there's more clarity to be found. Making some space in the keyboard for maybe the bass, and making some space in the bass for the kick drum, and finding which range you want each to sit, because there's no right answer. Your bass could sit lower than your kick drum could sit lower than your bass guitar. You could trade off between which register between the first and third octaves the bass is going to handle, versus like you can make tiny EQ adjustments or even high passes to fit those together, and that actually will start to frame your style as a mix engineer, how you handle your low end.
Interesting. Hey, as somebody who mixes in Studio One, Nathan wants to know, are you using a Stream Deck or anything to kind of hit those different cues or presets or any tricks like that for whenever you're mixing on the fly for a broadcast in Studio One?
Not yet. Not yet. I will be delving a little bit more into automating some of that. That's the great thing about Studio One is it's got some scenes, right? So you can save your scenes and the scope in what you want to recall. Right now I use those for visibility states. So in broadcast, we're needing to nail our transitions. We don't want our pastor walking up on stage and you can't hear him for the first 3 sentences. That's because you were scrolling 40 channels to the right to find his mic, right? So hot tip for anybody on a DAW, learn how to use your visibility states or folders or whatever it is that's going to help you navigate faster to pop over quickly to whatever, or get a control surface and lock down your main critical channels to your control surface. So that's what I'm mostly doing. I've got like an all layer. I've got a transitions layer that's got like my worship leader, praise team, which is the BVs in this particular instance, the speaking mics, the video line, and the ambience, so that I can make sure that the ambience isn't too washy when the pastor gets up. So just the crucial things that I need to get to very, very fast.
Gotcha.
And that's more important. So if I'm doing right now, because the Waves tune has the send to all, that's fast enough for me in a DAW. So that applies to all DAWs. So right now, nothing more than that. But yeah, it's the only DAW that has scenes. So it's the only DAW I'll use for broadcast. Interesting.
All right, let's listen just a little bit more here to Kingsway and give some more thoughts to them. Love it when the tear deck cuts out. Gotta love it. Hey, the video stuff looks great on this. Somebody commented the lighting was really great. John was saying that. I agree. Yeah, it's very stellar. So anything else you're hearing there that jumps out at you in that song?
In this one, it's funny because by the end we get to a place where it widens out. And I don't know if that's because of the tracks that come in. Oh, you know what I noticed too in the song? There's clarinet and stuff, which is fantastic. I love seeing traditional instruments pulled into contemporary worship. They did a very, very, very good job of keeping the balance and not losing it. So whatever they're doing with a mouse or faders or even just some compression control, they're doing a very, very good job keeping everything balanced and presentable. Whoever's mixing this doing a really good job.
I agree, man. I think it's really a solid broadcast here from Kingsway. So good job to you guys. As somebody who mixes in Waves as well through Studio One, can you talk to us a little bit? Like, that church was using Waves. We recently bought the Wing. I didn't get it with the Waves card in it because I just wasn't thinking. And then they came out with that. Like, do you have some favorite go-tos that you're like, I love this about Waves? Any tips that you give us, things with lots of latency we should watch out for? I don't know.
So great thing about broadcast is video is always slower than audio. So less of a concern. If I'm at front of house, I'm not using RBass or really any of the R plugins. I'm not using RVox because there's latency. I'm trying to keep my front of house and ears mixes as fast as possible. But in a DAW, when you're trying to wait for video, it's not so much a concern. There's some go-to things that have always just been quick and easy. So plugins is more about your intuitiveness in using the plugin and less about which one sounds better. The reality of plugins is they may all have different variable ways that their controls act. They may have different ways they present their graphs. But an EQ at the end of the day is more or less going to be an EQ unless it does something special, like it is a harmonic EQ or it's intentionally adding a harmonic circuit or things like that. But
I've
for
never even
more,
heard of a harmonic EQ. Is that like listening for certain frequencies and then is it like a
that's
dynamic EQ or?
that's a resonant EQ, but a
Okay.
harmonic EQ uses harmonic saturation
Oh,
in the way an EQ would work to change and shift the tone. There's a ooh, don't quote me on this. I think it's a Craneborn piece that also has a plugin. And there's not a lot on the market, but it is inherently different than an EQ,
okay.
but it can be used the same way. Um, I prefer so in saying that, I prefer like a couple things that are very quick and dirty are your tried and true. So your CLA 76s, your I like the SSL EV2 channel strip. Just because when I pull it up, I know where everything is. I can turn a knob and I can know how much to turn the knob and get what I'm hearing quicker. If I'm gonna jump into I don't know, a Greg Wells EQ or something else that I don't never use, it's not because those things are bad. You know, those package plugins are bad or anything like that. It's just I never use them. It's gonna take me twice as long to get to the thing that I'm hearing because I'll be like, oh nope, that's not what that did that I wanted, and that oh nope, I wanted something different. You know, grab an SSL EQ and I'm like, nope, it's that top mid band's close enough, and then I can tweak it a little bit. We're good. Move on. Right? Like it's that easy. I do love the Abbey Road mastering. Let's see what else am I using a lot. The Puke Tech. Puke Tech is the Puke Child and Puke Tech. I use both of those, but the Puke Tech, the EPQ, the basically the Pull Tech. I use that a lot. I'm just trying to think if there's any like oddball Waves plugins that I'm
Are
using
you
very, very
throwing
frequently.
something on the end for the mastering chain? I think that's a lot of people struggle with
Usually,
that final thing to like get levels up. What's your kind of method for
usually
that?
I'm usually I'm hitting usually I'm hitting an API 2500. I prefer the sound that you get out of that versus like the SSL comp. I've never been a fan of the Waves SSL comp, but to me it's a little bit too chewy. It's too sluggish compared to any of the others that are out there. Um, but that's a knob thing. So you can tweak it. You can get what you want. Stop looking at I keep telling myself, Hurley, stop looking at the meters. Just listen. Um,
If you were doing that
but
on a wing instead of with waves, like a lot of people that don't have waves, is there like a comparable thing that you would kind of throw on there, like a precision limiter on an X32, you know, that everybody was doing for a long time?
the the wing is the only console out there that has a brick wall limiter, and I believe it's modeled after an L2. Not don't quote me on that. But an L2 is a good uh, baseball bat to throw it at a mix. But I get most of my additional level, if I need much of it, out of the Abbey Road mastering.
Okay.
Um, Throw it on your mix, and then go find the comp section and take the mix knob from 0 up just a little bit, and you'll start to hear. If you've got a decent mix going into it, it should already be compressing a fair bit. When you start to mix in that wet signal, you'll get quite a bit of RMS boost out of that, which is a great little tip. That I will use first and faster than I will use an L2 just to get level.
Okay. Cool. Hey, Brian asked an interesting question. Is there a drastic difference in audio between console brands, or what, you know, differences have you noticed? I mean, I know there was a thing even with like Pro Tools faders or something like that, even causing
Oh, the
differences
meters.
in, yeah. So is that a thing that we should even be worried about?
It comes down to like when you're summing bits, ones and zeros, no. But you know, accuracy of your algorithms, the older consoles had issues. Like you'll had more brittle, more brittle processing sounding. You know, the EQs were just brittle and colder sounding, just as they were, and that came down to precision, I think, more than anything else.
Okay.
Um, but again, older consoles, it was more about getting the preamps right. New generation of technologies. How do you meet this super transparent conversion from nice warm transformer days, and the whole desk was copper? You know, like how do you get it to still sound musical and warm? Right. This is all just what we were used to. So they've gotten better with, you know, warming up their preamps and making things less accurate because we like less accurate. We actually like to hear a little tiny bit of noise and, little roll-offs in the top end. Those are pleasing to us. Nowadays, like the Yamaha, if you're going from a Rivage console, but from like even an Allen and Heath console, like, yeah, there's something that's happening in, like, we just noticed it the other day. We noticed that for some reason, the low mids down, everything was clearer. And, there's an argument to be made about whether or not that was because they were brand new scenes. But, my mixes at broadcast are quite often more closer to flat than anything else. So when I'm pulling faders up, I'm very, very, very aware of what the original sound is. And I'm pulling faders up and like it happened on Wednesday. I literally went, oh, it was like a breath of fresh air. I was like, that, I can tell right away that sounds good. Like, it sounded clean, clear, velvety for some reason. It was just, you start stacking things on top of each other and it's like, okay, it's still holding up. That sound is still holding up. And so, yeah, when you're going from way, way, way top to like most of what the rest of us are using, there's a difference. But when you're down from everything from a wing to a D Live, no.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say no. Like, it's not even, the conversation isn't even there. It's all gonna be subjective at that point. Temperature, humidity, what room you're in. You turn the knob until, my mentor used to say, turn the knob until it sounds good.
That's funny.
So turn the knob until it sounds good.
There's a lot of truth there. Well, thanks to Kingsway for submitting. My final thoughts to you guys before we move on to our next review would be, I love the energy that you were directing with. The audio was great. I mean, audio is king, so we got to get that right first. That's why we're talking about it today. Video, some thoughts. I mean, you had some camera guys on the stage. I don't know if you saw that in there, James, but like, they were popping in the picture some. I think that's just a cultural thing for us. We try to avoid having cameramen in the shots because it just like draws my eye to it.
Yep.
And especially if you're doing IMAG in the room. So that might just be something you're conscious of. But that could have just been an Easter opener. Like, we're going to take a risk and have people on the stage for this part. So
it might have been. I like the contemporary instruments, and shout out to the lighting guy, because just like you don't have a good video unless you've got good audio. You don't have good video unless you've got good lighting. So.
That's so true. Yep.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to Crossroads Fellowship and give them a little bit of a listen here. And I'll tell you what they're working with. So they are using Ableton Live via Dante in a separate room. So another DAW mix kind of setup. And then they have 5 Panasonic 4K cameras. Don't know exactly which models, but that's okay. And yeah, they just want some help with all things lighting, camera angles, audio, video. So let's give it a listen.
You're seated on the throne of mercy. Your glory shining bright for all to see. Oh God, I will praise you. Magnificent with grace unending. You rescue us with love that never fails. Oh God, I will praise you. Who is like the Lord, strong in battle? Who is like the Lord, mighty to save? Who is like the Lord, King forever? Jesus reigns, Jesus reigns, and Jesus reigns.
All right, I love this song from Passion, man. It's a good tune. Anything jumping out to you right here off the bat with Crossroads Fellowship?
I'm not sure when I listen to this.
Oh,
Oh, but
There you go.
I accidentally muted this. Can't touch this mic in the wrong way. I'm not sure if it was the what I was listening to originally, but this is not necessarily a mix thing, but as a broadcast engineer, these are things that you need to concern yourself with, and so if you don't know about them, then learn about them. But the compression on the digital codec compression on the audio, to me, seem to be getting hitting harder than say like the last one
Yeah.
or some of the other ones. So what I'll do as a broadcast engineer is once I've settled, I've got my mix, I'm pretty happy with it, then I'll follow it down the chain. So I'll go after the console, ask, where's it going, what's it hitting, what devices, check the encoders, and I'll make sure that we're not sacrificing audio quality where we don't need to be. I mean, you can get to most of these platforms, you can send 8 megabits, and then of the 8 megabits, you can use 320 kilobits of it for audio, which is decent enough to get a clean audio mix that doesn't have the digital chirping birds that I say, because at the end of the day, YouTube's going to transcode it, Facebook's going to retranscode it, so you want the highest quality leaving your building as you possibly can get.
Yep. I love that you bring that up, because so oftentimes I hear that. And if you go back and record, compare it to your recording, maybe of like direct recording to what is streamed, you might be able to hear some of that compression happening, that squashing of the bitrate. So make sure you double check those audio settings, that it's not set at like 128 or something like that.
Which is usually the start.
Yeah. That's where most streaming services are going to just try to force you to have it at. If you have Boxcast or Resi or any of those, make sure you're diving into the audio settings, not just the video.
Yep.
One thing that jumped out to me compared to the last church, I felt like the drums were so full and like punchy, and I feel like a lot of times I see these churches that even have drums in a shield, and yet I can't hear the snare drum. Like, what is your kind of method to snare drum when you're mixing in a DAW and you just got that raw signal coming in? What is kind of some of the first stuff that you're doing to it?
I've always been this way. I always start with the overheads, right? So those overheads are going to be giving in this particular instance. So you're right. We're losing close mics. Now, I don't know if I don't remember this. I didn't see too many shots in the drums, but so without knowing specifically what their mic package is like or whatever, it may have come from an older culture where it wasn't a thing to mic the drums because they were so loud on stage. And then we put them in a cage and we thought, oh, nobody thought to put mics on them, right? Like, that happens. It's okay. It's not that big a deal. But so if you don't have some close mics, then maybe it's time to have a rethink of how we do our drum kits. But start with the overheads, and then are you getting too much of the sound of that cage in the overheads? If you are, well, then you have to play to that and not use so much overheads. So there's a trade-off to be had there. If you're over compressing your overheads and that's bringing up too much of the sound of the cage, okay, so let's pull some compression back. We don't need so much on the overheads. And then play that balance between the close mics. You've got timing, so record 4 bars, pull it out in a DAW, and go look at your transients between your snare and your overheads, your toms and your overheads. I'll leave my snare top as my truth, so that never moves. I'll move the snare bottom to match the snare top, and I'll figure out the delay, punch it into the console, or whatever the latest thing is. I'll set my mics to match the latest thing. While I try to keep my snare the source of truth. Then from that point, it's just polarity and making sure that, and check your polarity. I say this all the time. We mix with everything in context. So you mix your snare with your overheads. But once you've made your high pass, your EQ, and your compression, and maybe gating, then check your polarity. Okay? Don't check it first and then make all those moves, because your compressor does change what your phase responses are going to be. Your EQs definitely change what your phase response is going to be. And even the gate can do it. And I've proved this on an old live stream I did. I went and I showed the difference when you're heavy compressing, when you're making EQ moves and gating, changing just the polarity on the channel changes if you've done it before or if you've done it after. So do it after and make sure that you're retaining that punch while everything's in context. And I always tell people, like, if you're doing your overheads and then your snare, your overheads and then your kick, your overheads and then your toms, make sure that you add your kick to your snare and your overheads and check. Add your toms to your kick and your snare and your overheads and check. And make sure that even once you've summed everything together, everything still plays well, so that the drums as a whole picture, when they come through, they're all singing sympathetically through the mix. Super, super important. And like, I always check it. Don't set it and forget. That's not a set and forget thing. Always check it.
And by check it, you're saying click the phase button, flip the phase, and just see if like some of the punch gets lost or if something cancels out and you're like, oh, it actually is better in phase or out of phase. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the quickest way to do it. There's more complicated plugins you could use to shift your phase by samples and things like that. But most people are not going to be throwing in phase on everything just to make sure everything's tight and tidy. Like, just use your polarity right away. But do learn how to do the exercise where you figure out your delays in a DAW. That's massively helpful.
We'll listen just a little bit more. Man, I think vocals are tight. This your male lead singer's got a great voice. I love some of the stage design that you're popping behind camera shots like this one. Really adds to some textures there. Let's listen a little bit more here to Crossroads.
Of this world, a voice like thunder, the lion roars, the king is coming, hail the savior of the world, with eyes like fire and hair like a wolf, the king is coming for the nations of this world.
All right. For me, I don't think I'm hearing like any tracks or anything that's kind of filling in any of that space. So if you guys are using those, make sure your broadcast guys bringing those up. What else are you hearing that you could give them tips for, James?
I actually hear some good panning on some of the instruments. I'm noticing that the keyboard's very mono, which is again, could be just a resource thing. Could be broken DI. We only had one this week. But the keyboard's mono, so it's sitting right here on top of the vocal for me. And it could be adding to space by making that stereo. And the one thing, and I'm going to be a little bit of a stickler on this because it's a pet passion of mine, I'm not hearing a lot of crowd. Not even like room with no crowd singing. That's very light in the mix for me. So while the mix actually is, I'm going to say arguably balanced, right? Like it's not offensive at all. Its tone's pretty good. Sounds like the guy listening might need a better environment or better monitoring setup, which is fair. That's 99% of churches. I'm missing that invite into the space where I feel like there's a room here. I'm being drawn into what's happening. So those are the only other two things that I was picking up on.
As an audio engineer, whether you're running in front of house or broadcast, probably more front of house, but how do you encourage mic technique that helps you get the best sound? I'm seeing a lot, and I'm guilty of it sometimes too, of managing my volume with distance, because then now my voice is so much thinner than it was, wherever I'm actually on the mic like I'm supposed to be. And I'm noticing this crew is kind of pulling off quite a bit. So is that a conversation you're having at front of house with people?
Yeah, and we always have it. We have it repeatedly, and we're not afraid to sound like a broken record because people who are getting on stage to sing, while we can assume all the time, well, that's their job, they should know that. They've got kids, they've got jobs, they've got lives. They're arguably they're not going from one church to the next every single day, and that's what they do for work. I'm sorry, it's just most people that's not the case.
Yeah.
So they're gonna walk in having just had an argument with their husband over who took the trash out and fighting with their kids because they didn't want to wake up early and all this other stuff. So you love on them, you let them get some coffee in them, and then when they get into rehearsal, oh hey, remember let's keep the mics up a little bit closer, keep them nice and full. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
not confronting, not abrasive, just a reminder because that's your job is to steward the source.
Yeah, and I think sometimes it's even an in-ear mix thing, that I found with
it's too loud.
Yeah, they're like, man, I feel like when I get into it now, I'm like too loud, and so I'm gonna back off. And so managing their in-ear mixes and stuff is helpful.
If possible, put a tiny bit of compression on your ears. not too much, because if it's too much, you're going to bury yourself. But like 3 dB when you're the loudest will help you not subconsciously do that. And we're just trying to keep our singers within, you know, we usually do this like, hey, keep it within a thumb,
Okay.
right? So if you're going to stay on it, then just pull off only a thumb. It's a helpful reminder. The other thing to remember is your front of house makes your broadcast mix, right? So if your front of house mix is too loud, if the vocals alone are too loud, and it's going to be those mics are picking the house up. And if your mics are loud in the PA, then they're going to start to sound echoey and roomy, and there's nothing you're going to do on broadcast to fix that. So having a conversation with broadcast engineer, front of house engineer, if your broadcast engineer goes, hey man, I'm struggling, it's pretty roomy, you got to be humble enough as a front of house engineer to go, oh, all right, cool. Let me see if I'm too loud. Let me see if the vocals are pulling too far away or living too far away today. So I'm pushing them harder to get the right level. But now I'm oversensitizing those microphones. So it all kind of plays together. But yeah, I see a lot of relaxed, so that I don't know if it looks like it's in ears is a little hard to tell. I think it is.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I can't tell if he's wearing. I don't think. Yeah, it's hard to tell. I can't see.
It might not be. That could be a consequence of everybody wants more in the wedges, so the wedges are too loud.
Yeah, it's hard.
All
to
of
see.
these things, like I've been around for 40 years, so
It's funny. Video wise, things that you're fighting an uphill battle because you're doing iMag in the room, so you're compromising the cut for online for what's seeing on screen. So that's why we don't see any of the audience. We don't see any wide shots, establishing shots, because you don't want that on the iMag. You're supposed to be magnifying the image, not showing wide shots. So I get that. But other things I would try is maybe cuts, not fades, dissolves all the time. I think that's just kind of old school looking. You could maybe also revamp your lower thirds a little bit to give more clarity to those, and just trying to match the pacings of the song and stuff. But if you could throw in some drum shots, some more higher energy stuff, that'd be great as well. But Crossroads, I think you guys got a lot of good stuff going on and some good building blocks to keep building on.
Like they're being good stewards for sure. I love that stage set.
Yeah, really cool. Hey, speaking of audience mics, as somebody who has spent a lot of time, like you said, that was one of your main jobs, was capturing the audience.
Yep.
I think a lot of times our live streams don't feel live. And so can you kind of talk to me about your go-to method for capturing the audience? I mean, this could be a long spiel, but so give me a shortened version.
It'd be a quick one.
Are you riding faders? Are you using any type of side chaining? Where are you pointing mics at? Things like that.
First thing I'm doing is, most churches have them in the ceiling, so I'm pulling or putting mics on stage, much to the chagrin of the video guys. But we have a conversation and we come to a compromise. But I find small cap condensers on stage, a few feet above where the audience heads would be when they're standing and singing is the best place. If your room is super deep, you might need a second pair toward the back. And then I'm using a bit of compression so that the loudest claps, the loudest snares, the loudest are being just tickled, so it's smoothing a little bit of, so more of a control thing, not really a tone. And either if I have plugins, I'm using some upward compression, or if I have no plugins, what I'll do is I'll over compress, over makeup gain, and then dial the mix so that I can raise the noise floor, which is intentional this time, because I want the low level audience reaction to come through. I don't want it to be overbearing, and it's like, every time somebody stops talking, it's and it's just noise. But you bring in some of it, lift it up just a little bit so that you're not having to do 10 dB swings on your audience fader. And then these two fingers is ambience worship master, always, right? So they almost never leave those two DCAs, and I'm riding them because I'm also hitting my target 90% of the time. I'm within 3 dB of the target level that we need to be at. So, and I do that here, not with a limiter, right? Because limiters are going to be too harsh. They're going to take too much away from the transient, but I can just do a ride in when it's quiet and a ride back when it gets louder. And when you listen on a phone, on headphones, on whatever, you can't even tell I'm doing that. You're just like, oh, it's just, I can feel the energy come through as it's supposed to. And when it gets low, I'm still there in the moment. right? So
Are you high pass, low passing real aggressively? Like, what is the EQ spectrum that audience should be living in?
listen, if you're listening, think about a room of clapping or laughing. Like if you're just sitting in a room full of laughing or whatever, that's the tonality that if you're singing, it's going to be similar. So I'm high passing almost all of the room out. So I'll be up to 500, 600, 700 as you know, I'll be getting as much of that room out as I can. I usually have to still pull a node from the room out, 500 or 600 as a bell as well. And then depending on what's happening with reflections in the room, I'm pulling a high shelf down a little, or you know, if there's a real splashy concrete floor, I might be pulling 4K back. I'm leaving 1 to 2K. I'm trying to leave that fairly untouched.
Okay. Yeah, that's really helpful. Good thoughts on audience mics. I think we just throw some mics up and sometimes don't really figure out the best way to capture in our room. And it's so important for our live streams, you know?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to our third live stream review here. We are looking at Parkway Church on the Mountain. And we're going to listen to them and give them some thoughts here. I'll tell you what they're working with. They are using Logic Studio for mixing with a Behringer X Touch, I think, as like the control surface for it.
Good
So
job.
another DAW here. Let's listen and see what we think.
That can silence roaring waves. I know a name that can empty out a grave. I know a name, and it's worthy of all praise. It's the only name that saves. I call you Jesus. I call you healer, risen and reigning in power. Something comes out of the grave. Every time I call you Jesus, let me hear you. I call you Savior, lift him up, worthy of glory forever. Something comes out of the grave. Every time I call your name.
All right, here comes the band.
With dominion over death, he holds the keys, he holds the end. In his holiness, God hates. He is the healing that has crushed the serpent's head. Our resurrected great I am. I call you Jesus. I call you healer. Risen and reigning in power. Something comes out of the grave. Every time I call you Jesus.
All right, that's Parkway Church on the Mountain. They got a lot going on that stage, man. What are you hearing, James?
I wanted to comment on the stage. I love it. I'm all about it. I loving seeing people up there singing. I know I don't see a lot of mics, but that's okay. I love the energy. It's great. Throw all the kids up there. That to me is my favorite part of this entire live stream. It's just amazing.
It's
And
a
lot of,
celebration. Let's go.
yeah, a lot of guys get really like, you know, I've seen guys get pretty cranky about that kind of stuff, but that's amazing. It's just amazing. It's just amazing. How could you not love that?
Yep.
So I'm hearing, I'm on this one. I'm actually hearing a lot of room involvement, which is excellent. Win, 5 stars, gold sticker. Like it's awesome. But on the trade off to that, I'm hearing some crunch and some over compression happening, and that could potentially be at the mastering stage. And the one thing to remember with DAWs is, you know, you're not necessarily getting meters all the way through all the time. So you have to be very intentional about bypassing plugins and making sure, hey, am I riding too hard into this plugin? Am I riding too hard out of this plugin? So even though the plugins are 32-bit or usually or 64-bit plugin to plugin in most DAWs, they're still set to expect certain level. And if you ride too hard in, you might overdrive the total harmonic distortion that's intended. You might literally just be hard clipping. Some of that aliasing could be from over compressing on a brick wall limiter. Brick wall limiters are fast. When they come up, they alias their waveforms. So they create crunch. And so I'm hearing quite a bit of that on this one.
Yeah. I was even hearing like some little phasing stuff, it almost sounded like, on the lead vocal. And I'm not sure if that's like the audience mics are, out of time with what we are hearing there at the beginning. Like if we listen to his lead vocal here.
And it's worthy of all praise.
And I don't know if that's a certain effect or what's happening there. Maybe
it's the house is too loud.
Okay.
And that may just be because he's singing a little softer, and the house is trying to get him hotter. Again, goes back to that conversation. But that happens almost always. Either the broadcast guy's riding the room too hard up without compensating with that vocal, or the front of house guy's pushing that vocal too hard to keep it above a louder band or a louder room response or whatever. And sometimes it's like, as a front of house guy, okay, hold on, I might have to allow it to stay a little buried so that like the room can naturally respond. And sometimes that means the room might cheer a little louder than I can hear that person singing or leading. But if it's a couple of words, it's okay. If it's 6 sentences, that's a problem.
Yeah.
But that's what that sounded like to me. Or if the broadcast guy's tuning and the front of house guy's not.
Yeah.
And you hear those two things in the microphone.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay, so you're hearing maybe a tuned vocal coming through the broadcast, but then the audience is picking up the non-tuned vocal.
Yeah, if you're tuning vocals, you have to tune the same way at broadcast and at front of house.
Oh. Okay, that's interesting to think through, because I was thinking we might explore tuning only for online, but because we don't tune at all right now. So
if you're able to keep your vocal out of the house enough that it doesn't really creep up, but if you have hot ambience mics, it's gonna creep up, and you're gonna hear that phasey flangey thing going on, because it's two different but similar sounds. That's really what happens.
Interesting. And then with audience mics, as long as we're putting them right underneath the PA or something like that, we shouldn't have to be worrying about delaying them to match. But if they're out in the room, are you delaying at the board? Where are you handling that, and how are you measuring that?
I'm checking them all against, again, the snare is my source of truth.
Okay.
Right? The snare goes through the front of house console and picks up a little bit of delay, and then it comes out of the PA and hits a back wall and comes back to my ambience mics and picks up that delay. Then I'm looking at it and I'm going, okay, so now I've got 30 milliseconds before my snare comes back in my ambience mics. So now my ambience mics are the later thing. So I'm delaying all my other stuff, my close mics, back in line with my ambience mics, so that when I combine them, they're together, right?
Yep.
Those close mics are supposed to be in time with your drums. Make everything match them. The one that's in the room, the transients are going to be more smeared. They're not going to be as clear. If it's on top, on perfect with your drums, then it's going to sound like another set of close mics. It's not going to sound like the room necessarily. So I leave a little bit of wiggle room on the farther mics, and then I make sure that those closer mics are, boom, everything is hitting at the same time.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Video wise, I think you guys are doing a great job capturing different angles and giving some different options for me, like viewing this live stream. I do feel like I'm in the room almost experiencing with you. So good job with that. A lot of people on stage to try and shoot between. I'd say even on this song, as it builds and builds and builds, the energy's there. So like get away from those dissolves and those slow pans, and maybe, plan those out ahead of time. Like, hey, on this part, once we get to the bridge, everybody keep a shot locked off, and we're going to be popping between stuff. Thank you for having at least a drum cam and having some lights on him back there in that in the cage. A lot of times we don't, get to see the drummer, even if we have a camera. So thank you for lighting him up. And then if you are rocking autofocus on those front follow cams, there was a couple times where I saw it, fighting against that LED wall. I'd advise you not to. If you can, just run manual focus and set it on your front line. It may be tough if you're running a really shallow depth of field or something, but it doesn't look like you are. And I think you're just rocking Blackmagic Studio Cam, so you should be able to handle that. So But I think you guys are doing a great job, man. Shout out to Parkway Church on the mountain. Whew, goodness. James, great thoughts, dude. Awesome thoughts. I would love to get just your opinion or thoughts on this question right here that came in from ZX. Like, when it comes to our vocals, because vocals in worship music should be sounding really good. It's like the pastor's mic, like lead vocal, pastor's mic, those things, we need to be paying attention to them. What are kind of like your thought process for applying reverbs, compressions? Like, what's your kind of go-to method for worship vocals? And I have lots of questions about this we can go into.
It depends on the moment, because I prefer that the first things first, that the worship vocals sound like they're in the space you're looking at. So, excuse me, just got done being sick, so
Me too.
my throat dries out.
Yeah, it's madness. Yeah.
There's certain coronaviruses that are going around that like they're colds. This is what they are. They're colds, and and this one hit me hard for like 2 days, but then lingered in my throat. I was like, go away.
Yep.
But for me, if I'm adding a little bit of tail to the room, like with a hall or something, and I put the vocal up and it's only in the ambience mics, then I need to make sure that I'm still keeping that tail. So I usually use the same hall across everything. The same plate usually gets used across everything, unless I'm doing something specific with the drums, so that I can keep the sounds consistent. That's an old school studio trick, but it works well at broadcast. I'm not usually adding that to preach mics, so by the time preach comes on, I'm pulling my effects entirely, and I'm just using the room. I want dry, close. I want to hear basically it should be the best Comedy Central act sonically for broadcast. Comedy Central has to do these auto mixing things because their producers and their promoters, they want to hear the laughs, so they overcrank you can hear the PA from the comedian over top of the laughs. But for me, I that dry, close, intimate, if your room is in it, your room is in it. That you're not going to get rid of it, so it is what it is. It should sound like what you're looking at, but no effects.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. And for preaching mic, let's just go ahead and go into my final segment with you, James, what I'd like to call overrated or underrated. We'll start off with a preaching microphone. Headsets, overrated or underrated?
Underrated.
Okay, what's your go-to?
DPA 4088 or 4066, depending on if the PA depending on if I have feedback issues with the PA. And it's counterintuitive. I have had better luck with the Omnis than with the cardioids. And if I have to have multiple headsets next to each other, it's cardioid full stop.
Okay. Yeah. We have the 6066 on our pastor, and it just sounds great. And thank goodness they finally came out with a micro dot connector, I think, that we just recently got, because that's been helpful for our pastor.
The new locking micro dot is
Dante, overrated, underrated? Should churches be getting Dante certified so they can know how to use this stuff?
Complicated rated.
Okay.
It's great. It's fantastic. Problem is usually the user. We used to say, what is it, PEBCAC or something? Problem exists between keyboard and screen or something. So it's yes, they should absolutely be going through the certifications. You might not make it through level 3. You should try if you can, but 1 and 2 for sure. Because it is designed, so everybody needs to know this, it is designed to work on most switches. And if you're having an issue with it, if you have one of the very limited switches that doesn't work on, you can figure that out very quickly. Otherwise, something's wrong in the settings. Big no-no is green Ethernet. Other than that, it should be easy. Unify works fine. I'm on the groups all the time. Everybody's like, oh, you can't use Ubiquity. You can't use Unify. It doesn't work for Dante. It doesn't work. Listen, it's worked fine for me for the last 10 years without issue. Again, it's a user thing. I know Unified dealers that can't get it working, and it's like, yeah, because you didn't sit there to figure out how to make it work. It does work. Unify just their firewalls work different. Their
Yeah.
VLANs work different. Learn how they work.
Yeah, and I think in the last 6 months or so, they've come out with a, like, I forget
Pro
what it's
AV.
called. Pro AV, yeah.
Pro AV.
So where
Yep.
it's got built-in, whatever you'd call it, profiles for each port or something like that. We're
Pro
going
AV
with, we still
broke
are.
my network, but
Oh, yeah. See,
for about 2 hours, but I figured it out.
yeah. I mean, we're gonna go Netgear AV line on our stuff, just because that's what our integrators said that they're used to, and they don't trust the Unify stuff. And I'm like,
If they're used to it, then don't force them to go anywhere else. If you have a need for monitoring that comes with Unify, then make a case to bring somebody in who knows, and without offending anybody. But your best case is that go with what your integrator knows.
okay. How about immersive audio and live sound for churches? I know you have a lot of experience mixing with immersive audio. Is that something that you've done live? Do you think that that's something in the next 10, 15 years churches are going to be more, apt and available to do? Should we be exploring it? Is it overrated or underrated?
Again, complicated rated. I've seen it used in ways that people don't think it was intended to be used, and for me that is extremely underrated. So there's a church where they've got seats up their stairs to the balcony, that old school wraparound AG style where you could walk up the balcony but it's seats all the way up the side. Always hard to hit with PA. And I've gone and I've sat in an immersive room like that, and the hardest seat to hit, and I'm still feeling a sense of space in the mix. And they did it for less money than they initially planned.
Okay.
So that is a win for immersive PA. That's easy win, easy argument, especially when it's less money. It was less money because they went from a line array to at L Acoustics A12 boxes. Right? So again, a case against the line array because a point source was better. I love line arrays. I love how directional and punchy they are, but there's times where they don't work, and churches need to be okay with that, because I got a 25-year-old point source system down the road that I just tuned, and I couldn't pick the worship pastor's jaw up off the floor because he was just like, "What is happening? How come this sound?" I'm like, "Just speaker. You just tune it the right way, and it should work, right?"
That's funny.
So overrated because it's gonna go through a trend. Everybody's gonna be like, "We got to do this. It's the next big thing." Never do anything because it's the next big thing in church. Do something because it fits what your needs are or how you need to get your message across in the space that you have, right? Great example is Upper Room. They just did a huge immersive room, and they did it because their whole thing is about portals and sending their worship, they direct their attention up to heaven. And that was what their entire room was designed around. That's how they started, and that's how they did their new room. So for them, the immersive PA was what they were about the whole time. So that is why that made sense. Not because, it's immersive, it's this, it's that. That's what their entire congregation, ministry, worship was about. So if it fits who you are, what your room needs, it is the thing to do. Otherwise, if it's not, if you're doing good on a line array or a point source, then stay. There's no reason to move.
Nice. Yeah, the best technology solves problems. That's what I always say. So
yes, that's a great line.
All right. How about this one? Virtual or remote live stream mixing. It's all the rage. You see lots of ads for it. Is it overrated or underrated?
Over. Under and over. My issue is they're not paying the engineers. You're going to pay a guy 50, 75, 34, whatever. I've seen all these numbers advertised. How much is the engineer getting paid? I am not a fan of churches trying to pay people $50, even $200 to come out and do something for 4, 6, 10 hours. Like, the reason churches lose good musicians and good audio engineers is not because those people weren't planted. It's because those people have to put bread on the table. Like, I'm sorry. Like, if we are supposed to be representatives of Jesus on this earth, then we should be putting bread on our people's table. It's that simple to me. And if you're in a place where the local going rate is $850 a day for a good audio engineer, guess what? If you don't pay him that, somebody down the road's going to pay him that. Like, come on, pastors. Like, I don't care if your salary is a third of that. Ultimately, when you do the numbers out at the end of the year, that where's the humility? It doesn't matter. Make sure your people are taken care of, and when they're around, you can love them. When they're not around, you're just loving them from a distance. Like, to me, it's simple. So I have an issue with the services for that. If you're gonna pay people what they're worth, pay people what their local rates are. You know, if you're a church and you're doing it because it's cheap and easy, then have a think about what that means about why you're doing it. Why are you doing cheap and easy to invest in your 200 people who are watching online, or even more, right? So that's my gripe, but underrated because it works, and it works well. I do it every time I'm sick because I can't drive all the way down there and infect everybody. I'm working with one of the companies right now on hopefully we can announce more about this soon, but a better way to do it that's more accessible and more like being there. I just did a whole huge pitch. I really hope that they bite on it and we can move forward with it. But it's great. Also, my room is perfectly tuned with a Trinov, and I've got Barefoots in front of me and a full immersive system around me. Why wouldn't you want me to mix your broadcast from this room when your room shares a wall with the auditorium and there's a giant air vent plenum that's piping in the subs to the broadcast guy, or he's in a concrete block room? Like, you got a building across campus that has a spare room in it, remote mix from across campus. Yep. How great would that be? Like, yeah. You don't have to pull fiber, put a VMS system in or whatever. Just use a service that allows you to remote mix your guy, your room, just across campus.
I love that take, and I haven't heard many people talk about it, how it's stealing almost the value of an audio engineer's ability and our investment in that. So thank you for bringing that up. I think that's really important. How about drum triggers? You triggering a lot of drums, pulling in sounds from like Slate or anything like that in your broadcast mix?
Not in broadcast, not usually. There's a guy on Saturdays who likes a trigger sample for his kick, and because of the drums that we have and the mics that we have, we do it. And it works, and it's more gospel, and it's great. Other church, we're not doing any of it. I use triggers mostly for gates. They're super helpful for that when you have the IO to do it. I do use samples when I'm mixing in the studio. If it's needed to supplement whatever was the intended snare sound, I'll throw samples in as needed. Sometimes I'll just find the best samples from the actual recording and I'll use those. So I don't love them, I don't hate them. What I don't love is everybody using the same sample, or machine gun not round robining, or round robining directly, which is an old sampling term, and machine gunning. Like, there's no articulation, there's no nuance to that. So to me, it loses authenticity. I say that, and I know that Gen Z is coming up right behind us, and their worship music sounds very different. So, I'm just purely talking about our current contemporary music style. So,
yeah, those are good thoughts. And final question, just a follow up there. How does one do virtual mixing if we wanted to get into that now?
Right now, remote desktop solutions, your best bet. I use, I've got some IP KVMs that I love, which are hard to get a hold of. So I would recommend Chrome Remote Desktop, which is free. Jump Desktop is a nice, great one. These are just easy, point to point kind of solutions. That's your control. It will be mouse only, so just bear in mind that. And then Camlink for your multi-view. Wavestream, if you're using Waves Ultimate, you get Wavestream. Or Audio Movers, they've got I say Audio Mover Solutions because I don't remember exactly what it is. They have plugins that allow you to share a stream back and forth. You just run what you need to your mix, to the person mixing, and then also a talkback channel.
Yeah. And if you are using a service like Boxcast, they actually have come out with a new remote mix function from your Spark encoder to where you can control some of that stuff live there. And so if you guys want to hop into Boxcast, I'll put a link in the description. It's an affiliate link.
Those are the guys that I'm trying to work with right now.
Okay, so Gary and those guys are great. I've had a lot of discussions with them as well, and I honestly haven't had the chance to mess with this, but I think that the solution for this could be like you're saying. It's not hiring somebody else. It's like we don't have a mixing spot in our church that's good, but hey, down in the other wing we do. So could you do remote mix from the Boxcast where you have direct control? Now, there's some limited functionality right now to where, you don't have access to maybe everything in your board, but, if you have an X32 or something like that, I think there's some potential here to be looked at. So you guys can check that out.
Hopefully more to come.
I think so. I hope so too. And I had to look at that and make sure it was released, because last time we had talked, I was like, am I still under NDA for this? Or
I used it. I used it a couple of weeks ago. I did a bunch of testing and then sent a bunch of reporting back to them.
Okay. Awesome, man. That's great. See, we got people like James there testing it out and making sure it's going to work the best for us. So I love that. Man, this has been awesome. It's been like drinking through a fire hose of like audio, just education stuff, and really great stuff for us to think about. That's one thing when we do these live stream reviews that I'm always like, picturing my live stream and like thinking, okay, yeah, I know that's something I can tweak. So hopefully you guys are watching, taking some stuff away. I'm going to do another hour session going quickly through some more live stream reviews. But guys, in the chat right now, give it up for James. This was stellar.
Thank you.
This is so good. So I really, really appreciate you coming on, man.
It was an honor being on, and I've been looking forward to this for a few months now. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Tell people if they want to connect with you or follow along with what you're doing, tell them how they can do that.
Most easiest way is Instagram, James Arthur Hurley. Sorry, that's my handle. Sorry. I have a website to the same, but it's just Instagram / James Arthur Hurley. James like James, Arthur like the king, Hurley like the surf company. Super easy.
Nice. Well, I really appreciate you coming on, man. And, hope to have you on again soon, and maybe we'll run into each other one of these days. So appreciate you. Anytime. Yep. All right, guys, give it up for James in the chat, and we'll see you next time. All right, man, that was super fun just getting to have him on, and just so much knowledge there. Literally, guys, I remember, I think it was 10 years ago, going through a mastery course that he had just thrown on YouTube, showing how to dial in your worship mix. And had no idea that, one day we'd get to have him on the channel and learn from him. So the great thing about these live stream reviews and having these guys on is, I'm not paying them to do this. They literally are serving the church, the capital C church, by doing this. And so if you guys can, show them some love, even just a DM to say thank you, I know goes a long ways. So stick around for hour number 2, where we're going to jump into some more live stream reviews. I'm excited because I think we have like 60 in the docket there that people have submitted. So if you want to get your live stream reviewed and you're not at the top of that list, you may have to do the old super chat, because, like I always say, I can be bought. So a fast pass super chat for $10 moves you to the front of the line, and we'll be back in just a moment. All right, let's get ready for hour number 2. Come on, friends, it's gonna be fun. We're gonna jump in and do some more live stream reviews and hopefully a lot of Q&A with you guys. So I'm gonna pin some comments over here that have been coming in. We can jump into those. All right, friends, let's get it going. Hour number 2. This is going to be a more rapid fire session. I'm going to try and get through as many of your live streams as I can. Again, thank you to James for coming on today. Super fun learning from him. So a couple of comments here. Micah Martin, good seeing you at Philo last week. Man, Philo was a blast. It was year number 2 for me getting to go to Philo and seeing so many of you guys that came up and were just super encouraging to me. It just filled my heart with joy to know that like what I'm posting online is actually helping someone. And a little scary at the same time to know that you like are applying the things that I'm telling you to do. But no, great time at Philo. I was in charge of the video track. And special thanks to John Peak and Jonathan Mendoza and Josh Nasser and Brian Bailey. Those were my presenters for Philo Video Track. We talked about live streaming on a budget. We talked about how to get the most out of your screen visuals. We talked about storytelling as a church. And then we also talked about robotics and PTZ type stuff that Brian uses over at Prestonwood. So it was just a blast. It was super fun. And I hope that you got to come to more than just one track. I did see Micah there. It was great to meet him there. So, man, Philo was great. I did come back sick from Chicago. And so, still recovering from that, but made it through Sunday and had a great week on Sunday. Brian asked if I'd pulled out I Know a Name yet. And yeah, we did it last week, actually, for the second time. It's a great tune. Loved it. We do it in the key of G, though, because, dang, those elevation guys can sing high. So we took it down to G. And then Aaron, he says, I used your M32 scene file, and it came in handy when setting up our new X32 rack. I took your live stream ideas for your drum settings and your effect settings, so thanks so much, my friend. Aaron, that's so cool. I'm glad that it was helpful. It's probably shifted and changed a tiny bit since I posted that video, but essentially we're still running things the same way. Just that matrix stereo that's getting summed from a couple of buses, our pre-fader drum bus and our band bus, and vocals go into that too. So yeah, that's how we're running things still. So I'm glad that it was helpful. But let's jump into some more live stream reviews here today. Our first one is going to be from a church called Legacy Church. So if I can get them pulled up over here, we will go ahead and review theirs. Oh, I thought I had it pulled up, but actually while we're doing that, let's watch this recap here of Philo. Man, it was a blast. Is it Willow Creek Community Church in Chicago? So many cool vendors and tech stuff.
Don't let the fear of a furnace cause you to bow. Stay on mission. Keep your eyes open to what God has given you.
If you don't have the courage to bring your unique combination of passion, skills, experiences to what you do every single day, it will never be seen by human eyes.
Jesus wants to work through you, but sometimes you forget that he also wants to work with you.
JB. If you guys haven't been to Philo, man, you're missing out. So many fun connections there with lots of great people. So many just tech friends that we got to meet that were there from all across, you know, the nation. And so if you're able to make it and take a team, I think that's a great option, great conference to go and check out. That was year 2 for me. I got to present on Black Magic ATEM switchers and how to make the most out of them. That was my talk in the basics track. So maybe I'll make a video about that and just go through my talk with you guys if you'd find that helpful. I'm sure somebody out there would. Maybe not you if you're an advanced user, but yeah. All right, let's jump into this first live stream review from Legacy Church. Let's give it a listen here, and I'll tell you what they're working with.
Good morning, Legacy Church. If you would, let's stand and worship the Lord.
I'm already happy. They're using 2 Blackmagic Studio Camera 4Ks for 2 of the man cameras on platform, and a GH4 with 70 to 200 for the moving cameras, some Marshall cams for drums, keys, and bass, and then a random Canon XA45. Let's see if we can pick out the Canon XA45 camcorder. They're using a Behringer Wing, and it's mixed by a separate person in another room, and it's a bus mix. So they're just using the mixing station app. All right, let's listen a little bit. From Finland, let's go. All right, rapid fire. Legacy Church, my thoughts are vocals should be the main thing in your mix. So make sure your broadcast engineer is really giving those the front and center stage. I mean, it's always tough because a lot of times broadcast mix, it's like all vocals. But I just feel like it could be a little more vocal in the front heavy. So make sure you dial in who's leading what songs and have them out front. And that may just be, sometimes you start the service and things are a little wonky, but that's what rehearsal's for. So camera wise, I like the framing. There was some odd stuff here on that pan right here. Let's see. Was it some interlacing or something that I saw? Maybe not. I think it was on the next one. White balance looks good on the cameras. So those 70 to 200s looking good on that GH4 still. It can still look good. It's an older camera, but it's good. I love that hand raising stuff. Your Marshall cams, if you could maybe even throw them on a slider just to give them some life. That's great. Sometimes you can't do that though. Yeah, I like the pacing, the cuts. Let's listen just for another minute here. Yeah, it's a lot of piano, and I don't know if you're using tracks. It looks like you got some iPads running and stuff there, but yeah, it's mostly piano in this audio mix. I feel like your hi-hat's like panned way too far in my right ear as well. And I want to hear that kick and snare more. Ooh, that bass player's going. Here comes the vocals. Yeah, and the vocals need some verb or something just to kind of sweeten them up a little bit maybe. But you got really talented team. Let's look at Preach real quick. And see what we got going on over here. If I can see where my mouse is.
Promise was nullified not because
Got
God
the
wasn't
handheld.
able to keep his promise, but simply because his people didn't remain faithful.
Yeah, it looks good on Pastor there. Good follow. Okay, you got a head to toe and a tight, so that's good. Ooh, I like the little side shot thrown in there. The white balance is different compared to this one, though. Look, bam, bam. Much cooler on this guy compared to that. So make sure you're matching all those cameras. But yeah, that looks good. It's just a little different between cams. So that's something to watch out for. Yeah. All right, let's see if we got any comments here. Yes. Dason said vocals are too low. Yep. Dark backline. Yeah, great camera angles. I agree. Need some more drums. Okay, we're all kind of on that same page there. Yep. Aaron says the only change I made was the Livestream bus mix is pre-fader due to our sanctuary being small and we're not wanting the drums in the house. Yeah, it's funny you say that because that's literally how we run ours now. So on that, am I not pre-fader on that M32 file? I thought that I was on that one with them when I went to the Matrix. Are you saying you changed it from being pre-fader? Because my thought was, if we're not having anybody monitor anything, every mix engineer is running the drums a little bit different since we have so many volunteers. I found for us the most consistent thing was just to do the drums pre-fader and just have those combine into the Matrix. And that's worked well for me. Yeah. All right. I'm going to go over here to my Google Forms. And remember, if you want to be next in line, you got to do a super chat. Because, yeah, we got 80 now on the list. Well, actually 78 because I did not delete that one. Okay. And I'm sorry if you submit a Facebook link. I'm just not gonna, or a Discord link. Okay, I'm sorry. We're not doing a Discord link. Hold on, I got a cough. Okay, here we go. Here's the next one. Life in Christ SDA Church from Zach. So let's pull up their YouTube here. And I can tell you what their setup is. Leaning on the everlasting arms. All right, they have 4 cameras, a Canon 90D with a Tamron 70-200 again, a Sony A6400, which looked like it was trying to get focus there, with a Sony 18-135, Sony. I am confused with what I'm hearing. Is there 2 different things playing? What is happening? Okay, it's not that one. It's not that. Are they like trying to get the... Is this rehearsal? What am I watching? I'm confused, y'all. Let's go to where the service is kind of going here. To follow Jesus. Had some like dropping frames there, so I don't know if you're... I don't know if the cameras are coming in over NDI. That was a little odd. Or it could just be your internet going out to, you know, your master there. Hey, the piano sounds nice. Aww. Let's keep going forward here a little bit.
Amen.
So it looks like your setup is pretty simple for music. Like you're just doing piano and a couple of vocals. But you do have a full band here, so maybe just not on this Sunday.
We know that you want to take us to a better
So it's hard for
place.
me to evaluate without seeing or hearing the full band. But as far as cameras go, I I mean, you have plenty of light in this room, so that's helping you out with your 9DDs, and they appear to match pretty well from what I'm seeing. I think that what would help is just to have a really tight shot on your pastor, on your leader, to be able to pop between. I appreciate that you're showing some of the room and stuff, but utilize that 70 to 200 that you have to get a little tighter in there on them. So they said that their audio is an X32 post fader mix bus directly from fed into their Blackmagic. So you should be able to dial up your effects independently and maybe mix in some room mics. I feel like when it's a smaller setup like that, embrace that audience vibe and help us to make it feel like we're there and we can just hear everybody singing. That's the great thing when you scale back these kinds of setups in a worship time. You have the ability to actually hear the vocals, which is the beautiful part. And so embrace that and bring up those audience mics if you've got them in there. I do want to say thank you for the first shout out from Winston Chow. Hoping you can get to our live stream. Thanks for all you do. Well, Winston, I'm getting to your live stream right now because of that super chat. So let me see if I can find you here in the 77 different submissions here. And Winston, I found you. Cornerstone Evangelical Baptist Church, Cambridge English Worship. All right, so while I pull this up, they're running 3 of the AV Cans PTZ cameras. Curious in the chat, are you using PTZs at all in your live stream? If so, let me know. And say yes, and if you're happy with the ones you have. Yes, or if we're not happy with it. There is a new PTZ camera that I've seen that is intriguing me. As you know, I'm not a PTZ lover because the value versus what you get oftentimes is not quite what I would hope for. I feel like you can spend less money and get a better, image and a more flexible camera and all of those, different things. And so, but there is a new one that's out there that is very intriguing to me. And it does cost about $4,000, but it has a micro Four Thirds sensor. And so, that's a pretty interesting option when it comes to a PTZ. So, I would think that might be intriguing to some of y'all as well. This is the only PTZ currently that I have, and this is the OBSBot Tail 2. And if I go ahead and click preset number 1, you can see my little plaque there that my church made me. And so I just have a couple of presets sitting here, and this is the OBSBot Tail 2. It's okay. I feel like in my office here, it's not the worst thing in the world, but compared to my GH5 with a Sigma 18 to 35 at 1.2 compared to the OBSBot, I don't even know what the f-stop is here. It's zoomed in a little bit. It's at where are we at? It's only at 2.1, so it shouldn't have lost too much light. But we're at ISO 1600 in here on this, where on my GH5 I'm at ISO 250. So it's very interesting that you can do these little presets on your app. I could speed that up, that transition. Oh, but there you go. There's my little YouTube plaque that my church gave me for crossing 20,000 subscribers, and next to my Jesus figurine. But yeah, they had a little surprise party for me for being here for 15 years a couple of weeks ago, and it's been a fun ride here at Central. Love it. Absolutely love what I get to do. And so yeah, PTZ cams. How did I get into that? Oh, because they're using AV Cans PTZ cameras here for Winston's church. So let's see. how they look as we pull up their stream. Here we go. Firm Foundation. Love this song.
Christ is my firm foundation, the rock on which I stand when everything around me shaking. I've never been more glad that I put my faith in Jesus.
Rocking the SM7B.
'Cause he's never let me down. He's faithful through generations. So why would he fail now? He won't. He won't. I've still got joy in chaos. I've got peace that makes no sense. So I won't be going under. I'm not held by my own strength, 'cause I built my life on Jesus. 'Cause he's never let me down. Nice and loud. He's faithful in every season. So why would he fail now? He won't.
HM100U, actually. It's broken.
He won't. He won't fail. He won't fail. Christ is my firm foundation.
Well, the Nord sounds great. Vocals sound great with the way you're doing your compression groups and all that stuff. I would say, mic technique for your background singer would help a little bit too. Just to have consistency in the mix. It's an unmonitored mix, he says, that they just check every once in a while throughout the stream. I would say drums could live to be a little more present. What do you guys think? Feels a little piano heavy. Cut. Okay. No dissolves. Let's go cuts. Cut. We're going over to the drums now. We're going to the keys.
He won't fail. He won't fail.
So this is the perfect time to go to that close-up of a piano. It's a pet peeve of mine whenever it's an instrumental and it's just like on the singer. Wide shot is fine, but if it's just me and I'm singing and I'm just like, I'm not singing, but you're close up on me. Show the instrumentalists. So it looks like you're limited with these PTZs a little bit, but if you've got budget to add another PTZ on stage somewhere, like where that plant is, maybe that could get shots of your keyboardists. That'd be helpful, or if you're drummer as well, or just some locked off shots into. I think you said it goes into an ATEM. Yeah, that would be good. Let's fast forward here a little bit. Go here. No tracks, I'm assuming, Winston. Look at the drums feel better now. Hear those audience mics?
That you would take my place, that you would bear my cross.
Drums are good now.
That I would be set free. Oh, Jesus, I sing for all that you've done for me.
I will say for no tracks, it does sound pretty full. So good job filling out with bass guitar, piano only, and drums, right? Like I don't see any guitarists.
Hey man, let's give God a hand.
Yeah. You're doing good work on the Nord there. If you are leading, I'm not sure. Whoever's leading there on the Nords is doing a great job filling everything in there, and it's just a, I don't know, pleasant experience here as a viewer. So let's look at the preach.
You can't take care of other people. And this is universal for everybody. And so this is about your
audience
personal
mics might be a little hot on the preach time.
It affects your kids. It affects your coworkers. It affects your neighbors. It's who we are, and so it's just good relationships in general. Your kid is going to see you, especially.
I feel like skin tones are getting a little orangish on those PTZs, and this is the thing that happens on the PTZs. Like you can see the fake dynamic range of the PTZs. So you kind of see the shininess there on his face. That's what I was seeing as well with like the other PTZs that I've tried. So, you know, it's one of those things where it's good enough. It's better than it being blown out, but it's almost like whenever you reduce the highlights of something that you can't actually reduce the highlights of. I don't know if that makes sense. If you ever like edit photos and you're in Lightroom, that's something that'll happen is like it kind of gets smeary like that and you're just losing some of the details. And so, you know, that might be where if you could upgrade cameras and you could go to one higher quality follow cam that was like your tight follow that got like these hero shots of your pastor and worship leaders, but then through that one you replaced onto stage somewhere as a PTZ. And let me see if I can just show you over here. So like, so this part of my face, I feel like is a little bit more like smeary, if that word makes sense. It's just kind of overexposed, but not overexposed. It's trying compared to the GH5, which doesn't have great dynamic range or anything. And so, you know, this is that OBSBot Tail 2 that I'm testing out and trying to see how we might use that. Some more info to come on that maybe. I don't know. I might make a video. I might not. If you guys are interested, let me know. It's a semi-interesting camera. But I'm just a fan of actual cameras. Okay, we got some other thoughts in here from John. Winston, I hope that was helpful. Thank you so much for hitting me up with the super chat. So, Marshall says, this has been a constant battle for us. We've had to basically lobotomize our PTZs and work diligently with our lighting to keep that fake dynamic contrast of PTZs from looking so blown out. Yeah. Flannel Knight, use the OBSBot on your cable cam. That's how I'm interested in trying to set it up. You could do that, maybe. I mean, it does have the gimbal. Well, so here's the thing, is that it doesn't have a gimbal. So it is a PTZ. But I don't think it would work on a cable cam without a gimbal. And I'm not going to throw this PTZ on a gimbal. That's kind of silly. Because it would shake on a PTZ. Now, you could maybe use it on a slider and then utilize the auto tracking. The auto tracking I found is pretty good. It's pretty solid. But the ways I'm thinking about using it is actually turning it in vertical mode, because it can actually flip into vertical mode and then auto track our pastor and live stream that directly into sermon shots. So that way we have a social media camera out in the audience that is literally always just tracking our pastor in vertical mode. And so, you know, sermon shots, if you guys don't know, I just released a video on my channel. If I go over here and we...
Without anybody...
go out of there. You guys should check it out. I mean, I've been in on Sermon Shots since like the beginning of Sermon Shots. Like I was a beta tester of Sermon Shots, and back then I was of the opinion that like Sermon Shots was
time
too
to
much.
stop letting our sermon.
Hush. I was of the opinion that Sermon Shots maybe was not worth the amount of money that we were going to have to pay month to month. But now it's got so many features in it. And yes, this is a sponsored video from Sermon Shots, like Corey and the team there. They sponsored this video. But you can read my ethics statement. I don't do sponsored videos for things we don't use. And I really try not to do sponsored videos at all, but it's what helps me continue doing this channel. Things like your super chat, even there, are ways that we can keep doing stuff here on the channel. But Sermon Shots, like if you look here, they've got all this AI stuff that's built into it now with a bunch of sermon recaps and blog posts and devotionals and discussion guides and thumbnail generators and quote images. So those are kind of the things that have helped me have shortcuts in my workflow as the media pastor, the worship and media arts pastor who's in charge of social media now. Creating content is like a battle, right? Like, and so I was finding when I would go into Premiere and take our whole sermon, I would spend an hour, every week creating a reel, and honestly, like do too much to it, probably, that it didn't really matter for social media consumption. And so Sermon Shots is like, it's giving good suggestions for things to clip, and it's got some other neat stuff that they're doing too, with like Sermon Send and like some live translation stuff and all the AI. So go watch that video, and then use the link that I have in the description of that video. It is an affiliate thing, but it also just kind of helps them to know that like you're going because I sent you. And I think there's a code at the bottom of that video as well, Ryland 30, where you can try it free for 30 days, which is longer than the normal 2-week deal. So yeah, you should go check it out. Hope Church has watched it earlier. Cool tool. Yeah, it's just another tool in the toolkit, really. Not saying every church needs it necessarily, but it may be the right fit for your church. All right, let's go to our next live stream review. This is MFM Ireland from David Musa is next. So David, if you're here in the stream, let me know in the chat. They're using OBS with Marshall PTZs and a Blackmagic Television Pro HD. Okay, let's listen here.
I know he rescued my soul. His blood has covered my sin. I believe. Yeah. I believe. My shame is taken away.
So he drew out the attention that, yeah, the Logic audio is distorting sometimes. So I think the question becomes, anytime you have something like that where it's on your stream is distorting, you just have to chase it down in your signal path. Where is it distorting? If you go to your source in the soundboard, is it overdriving in the room? So each channel strip, are you clipping? Are you hitting too hot a signal there? Because that's, you got to fix it at the source. Or even before that, it could be the mic packs are too hot, and when you hit your transmitter and receiver, it's clipping right there. So I'm going to assume that it's probably not doing that. In the room, it sounds great. Well, then it's just a matter of building a mix where you're not overdriving the signal and giving yourself enough headroom at the end of the chain to where you can throw a limiter on there in Logic to help save any of those little peaks that might try to hit. So Camera wise, with your Marshall PTZs, you know, they're shaking quite a bit. You're using it here to kind of throw in the crowd there, and some churches do that, and that's just your culture, whatever you want to do. We don't typically do that from the front, but I like that I can see your church engaged in worship. They're into it. Let's go. I would do cuts, not dissolves. And then I would try to throw up a close-up of your lead singer every once in a while. If you can get lyrics on there, that's helpful for a viewer to participate. And then, you know, your band is kind of tucked in the back there. If you can somehow get a camera to show, I mean, it sounds like you got some great instrumentalists and band members. So yeah, I see, like, you can pop a lower third on there through OBS. If you could do an NDI feed into OBS from ProPresenter, or I don't know, a free show, you know, has the ability to do that, but you could always just do a Luma key of some lyrics. So yeah. All right. Well, looky here. We got another super chat.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Peter. Peter from the Hempstead Assembly with the super chat, coming in strong, because you know what? You got in with 1 minute to spare, Peter, because my voice is going out. So we're going to do, this will be our final live stream review, and we'll see what we can learn from Peter and his church, the Hempstead Assembly. So let me pull it up. Oh, man. I'm dying here. Found you. So don't super chat anymore, people, because I'm not doing any more after this. If you super chat, it's out of the goodness of your heart, just to say thank you. All right. They had one Blackmagic Pocket 6K, which is a great camera. What lens are you using on it? What's the most help with stream audio? Sounds great in the house, but don't know where to start for the live stream. They have it going through Logic, but they don't have any audio treatment for the room, which that's a great place to start. Is, you know, the audio treatment in the room can help everything. But let's pull you up here. All right, so you got one camera. It's just parked in the back of the room on a medium shot. Yeah, it's kind of overdriving the audio a little bit into Logic. It's odd because it's almost like it's overdriving, but it's actually not that loud. Get it, bass player. This works fine for a one camera. You know, you got a good spot there for your lyrics. You're showing the church engaged in worship. You're showing the whole worship team. I don't think there's anything wrong with this. I would say focus on the audio. If you said for this service you just had one Blackmagic Pocket 6K, so for other services, do you rock other cameras? If so, you know, we've talked about a lot of different ways you can make those great on this stream today. It's hard to know the starting point. I would say for the audio, you may not need it to be out of Logic. We don't run ours through a DAW. We've talked a lot about DAW mixing today, but you know, I think if you have a good house mix that you're happy with, you can make it work. But you said you don't have a treated room, so a lot of times that's when you would start wanting to think about a DAW mix, because then you can have full control. If you're having to EQ things differently in the room to make up for that, that's when a DAW mix helps. This feels a little too like room mic-y. It almost feels like it's the camera audio. It's not though. Okay. I mean, your band's getting after it. Yeah, we got to get this dialed in, like, because it needs to translate. I don't, if as a viewer, if you come across audio like that's just, let's go. I would rather the audio be too quiet and not be clipping, you know, and then people can always turn it up if they have the ability on their TVs or something. So chasing down, just gain structure, signal flow, you know, making sure your channels are all hitting okay in Logic. Goodness. I would say if you don't know where to start, there are people that have templates for Logic and stuff that you could purchase and just to learn. Obviously I have videos on the channel where I show our broadcast mix method right now, and then Churchfront has videos where they go through, you know, doing mixing in a DAW. There's lots of resources out there, but it doesn't seem like, it seems like in the house probably everything's good, so you've got a good starting point with source audio. You think you're getting bleed. Oh, well, you're doing a great job on the bass there, Peter. I mean, the drums are in a cage, so I don't know, you shouldn't be getting a ton of room bleed into dynamic microphones that people are singing into. Yeah, it sounds like there's audience mics out there, or that like a camera. It almost sounds like a camera audio is enabled along with a live stream audio, if that makes sense. Like, oh gosh, can I demonstrate it here? So like, if I have this mic on, but then I also have this mic on, did that do it? Hold on. Is it gonna let me? No, not that one. What if I do check 1 2? I don't know if you can tell or not. If I mute this one. Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Check 1 2. I don't think I'm previewing. Oh, I'm not previewing the audio coming out of the ATEM, so I don't know what it sounds like to you guys. Hopefully it sounds more roomy now, because this is the camera mic with this mic, and then this is with just the microphone coming in. That's what I wonder, is like, is there something like that happening maybe that's getting that distorted sound? So, because the camera obviously will overdrive much quicker. I mean, it could be that the drums are getting some bleed, but honestly, it doesn't really seem like it. And if you guys have the ability to multi-track record, that's where I would start. I would record your Logic session and then just be able to go back and solo out things to be able to hear, oh, we have no gates on any of our drums. Maybe if we, you know, gated all of these, that would help clean up this audio, or just to be able to see where is all that audience bleed coming from. So that's probably the first thing that I would do, is just record a session, then go back and explore each track individually to kind of see where the problems are happening.
Come on, all across this place, why don't we just lift our hands? God, there's nobody like you, especially in this time and this season of thankfulness, God. We recognize and we reflect.
Yeah, because it's not actually that loud. Yeah, you've got like 10 dB of headroom there, 9 dB of headroom for YouTube's stuff. Oh. It sounded like an echo. Yeah, I guess that's true because I'm delaying my microphone's feed 3 frames and I wasn't delaying. Oh, wait. Okay. Let's do this. Okay, so we're here. Okay, we're done reviewing live streams. Yeah, if we're in the ATEM software, let's just play with this. If I'm delayed 3 frames, wait, how come I can't? Can I not delay it? How do I delay it? Usually, there you go. Oh, it's you twist the dial. Okay, so for instance, if I turn on channel 3, channel 3 is, I think my GH5 over there. And now they should be matching. I don't know if they're matching or not, actually. Because the camera. No, that shouldn't be. I shouldn't have to delay the camera. How about if I just monitor? How about that? We're just exploring things now. Check 1, 2. Check. Well, I'm not going to worry about it right now. I was trying to prove a point, but it doesn't really matter. The point was maybe you have a camera like right here in your ATEM software with the mic that's on. So, but no, this actually should have lined up with what I'm delaying because that's matched with the camera. Either way, it doesn't really matter. So, yeah. Oh, goodness gracious. It's been a fun one. Oh, isn't that gain, not delay? Yeah. See, that's what I was thinking. I think you can only delay. You're right. I think that this is input gain, not delay. It's confusing, though, because over here, these are delays. So I'm delaying input 1 and input 2. Not input 2 because that is my computer audio. I don't want to delay it because then it wouldn't match y'all's live streams. But all of my microphones from my soundboard come into input 1 and I delay those 3 to match this camera audio. That's way too complicated probably. But yeah, you guys can see my setup here. The ATEM Extreme old one is what I'm using. And it's getting audio from the Zoom LiveTrack L8. Oh, man. Lots of fun. Maybe I'll do an office tour one of these times. Oh, I do just want to say thank you. How did I miss that? Where? Hold on. From Flannel Night. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Cup of coffee, he says. Maybe a spot of tea today. I don't know. To get rid of this mucus in my throat before I have to sing on Sunday. Dason says a live stream where you review multi-track recordings would be great. Yeah, that'd be interesting. Like if people somehow could send those in. What would be really cool is if I did a thing where it was like, I'm going to have on Johnny from Worship Sound Guy, again, and you guys can submit your stems and your final mix. Like you have to submit your mix and your stems, and then like we let that person live mix your stems, and then we kind of compare, your final mix versus what they did with your stems. I mean, that could be a whole course. Honestly, that's probably more than just an hour-long live stream for somebody. Hey, can you come on my channel for free and do all this? It's kind of a big ask, but I mean, I guess I could do it. I'm not the greatest DAW person. I do everything in Reason, so all of our new music and everything is done in Reason, and I break a lot of rules. You know, just it's like James was saying, turn the knob up if it sounds good, and you know, put it to where it sounds correct. I do a lot of that. So, but yeah, that would be absolute cinema. Yeah, that would be fun. I don't know. It's something to think about. So, yeah, man, we covered a lot of stuff today. So I appreciate all of you guys who have hung in there. If you didn't catch the beginning, I'll try to put chapter markers in here in a little bit so you guys can find stuff easily and, you know, learn, go back and evaluate, like, how can we apply this stuff to our Sunday morning live streams? Because live stream, like we talked about at the beginning, I feel like it really is the best picture of our churches for someone who's looking to maybe step through our front doors. They're going to go and watch a live stream because it's not this curated social media feed. It is our church live, uncut, right? And so it is the reality TV of our churches. So to an extent. So let's do our best to help it translate, you know, our in-room experience to those joining online and worshiping online. So, all right. Well, this iPad's at 1%, which means it's time for me to call it a day. I really appreciate you guys. It's been a lot of fun hanging on the live stream with you. So, you know, if you haven't liked the video and you made it this long, all 36 of you that are still here, go ahead and hit that like button. If this was helpful, share it with somebody on your tech ministry teams and pass the word around. Watch that video that I just released and more great content to come this summer. So I'm excited. You guys have an awesome weekend and we'll talk soon. See ya.